Good old fashioned crypto debate. We heard from Sebastian Urban, our resident Bitcoin bear, crypto bear as we know him, Ironwood Capital. But we had to get a bull on here as well. I'm going to kind of play mediator as we kind of walk through what crypto is for the future, right? And JJ Wardell's with us to talk about that. JJ, I want to start with, when did you first learn about Bitcoin? Because I told Sebastian a couple weeks ago, I vividly remember in 2017, I just graduated. You're like, dude, I'm mining Bitcoin on my computer, and it just went over my head. And then what are your general thoughts about it?
Yes, so I was first introduced to it back in 2017. I was doing like an abroad program, and one of the buddies of mine on the program, we were just figuring out how to make money. We were kind of bouncing around from location to location. So obviously, can't do that stereotypical job. So he had a background in Forex. And, I've always just been interested in the stock market. So we were just kind of, dicking around doing that. And dude, it was kind of just really funny. So, we were overseas in like Southeast Asia. So we were like on a different time zone. So we were always up like late night. Right. And one of our friends who was our roommate, he just walks in, he like, kind of just, with his like coffee, kind of walks in, looks at our computers like, are you guys trading Bitcoin? And we both kind of look at him. We're like, what the hell is Bitcoin? And he was telling us about just one of his buddies who, like, his grandma in like 2014 gave him 500, Bitcoin for his birthday or something. And the dude just kind of ran with it. And at that time, I think Bitcoin was like under 1,000. Right. So even if you still, again, I mean, if you got in super early, 500 Bitcoin, you're sitting on a pretty decent chunk of change there. And then just ever since then, I just like kind of got into it. That was back when it was still mineable. I don't think it is anymore. I don't know if there's any like new coin in circulation. I think it's like capped at 21 million or something. So I don't know if it's still mineable now, but I know that, there's ways where if you link up to that blockchain, you get like transaction fees for, offering your processing power.
And Sebastian's got some ammunition since we last talked, with some headlines that are a little bit questionable, the other side. But first I want to ask, did you like have the, did you hold on to any of it? Were there some crazy gains from way back in 17?
Dude, I actually pitched it to my dad. I like came up with a whole thing, and I was like, Steve, we got to get in this.
You were serious?
I was like, we got to put something. He had just retired too, so I was like, you got time on your hands. I was like, do the research, and he came back to me a week later, and he's like, how the hell do you buy it? I'm like, oh my god, dude! Like, I know you didn't do nothing, man. You probably like watched one YouTube video or something, and because it's a little bit of a process, and actually that Seabass was giving us a little teasing of what he was gonna say, but like that's kind of where we are right now. Again, Seabass, your whole issue with Coinbase and this dude flaring up over Coinbase and whatever the fuck's going on over there. That's actually kind of straying from where it originated. It's supposed to be like peer to peer. It's not even supposed to be through these exchanges, which is where kind of some of these issues that we're running into are appearing.
Coinbase got slaughtered today. Sebastian, let's bring you in there. A couple of headlines you peppered us with all throughout we last talked 3 or 4 weeks ago here on CorTrades. What are some of the headlines that have you coming out feeling a little bit vindicated on your position?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, starting with the 3AC, hedge fund liquidation, and then the guys just like kind of disappeared and like went on the run, and were like just running from creditors, running from, their bankruptcy filing, running from these people that they owed billions of dollars to. And then, we just mentioned the Coinbase. They're being probed by the SEC for allowing investors to trade coins that the SEC thinks should have been registered as actual securities. They were just listing them and letting them trade there. But I mean, JJ, I gotta say, I agree with you in the fact that like it's sort of lost its way. It was this like cool idea of like this decentralized financial system, but now you have all these like centralized exchanges coming in, and kind of taking away what made it so novel, what made it so cool when it started out.
No, I don't know if I don't think Bitcoin is the one. It's the one right now, and it'll probably be the one for the next 10 years. But I mean, it's kind of, there's like obviously some dark, I mean, it started with being anonymous, like Silk Road. I don't know if you guys have poked your heads down there at
I
any
used
point.
it to, I had to get Bitcoin for Bovada, in 18 when I was trying to play some online blackjack. And yeah, if only I knew.
Dude. And again, kind of the anonymity of it, which makes sense. I mean, think about all these, like that Target scam. I mean, not scam, that hack, I mean, the only reason, your personal, information is being released is because you're giving these companies, these big corporations who, we're all human. Nothing's going to work 100% of the time. There's going to be leaks. But when you've got a company of Target where it services, damn near everyone in America, 1% of that leak is 100,000 people. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of get lost in those very small numbers when you put it over a large population. It's actually affecting a lot of people.
And JJ, you kind of brought up too, and I think it's a valid point. It's like, look at everything's getting slaughtered. We look at the numbers. Bitcoin's down 40 something percent, 42% today, year to date. Yeah, you mentioned Kathy Wood, Sebastian. We were talking off the air. She's still getting money, right? She's down 60% this year. She's worse than Bitcoin, but it's like the money's still pouring in there. My opinion is that if Bitcoin was truly just a phase, a fad, if crypto was just a phase fad, the last we would have heard about it was in 2017. And then 4 years later, it spiked up again. Now we've got, companies aren't really talking about it anymore. The advertising's pulled back. Again, it's like, should we look at this 4 years down the line? We're always going to be right and wrong depending on the timing. But I sense you're a little bit more wary of these crypto exchanges more than crypto. Am I wrong there?
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's sort of like I said, it's just taken away this decentralized idea, which is like what it built its like whole, premise off of. But I do want to pose this question to y'all, to be totally honest. Like, yeah, y'all are mentioned, like, you don't think Bitcoin is just a fad, but from when Bitcoin and just crypto in general started, we've never seen a true recession. And most economists think that that's exactly where we're headed, if not already in one. So like, how will these extremely volatile, assets perform in a literal recession? Because there hasn't been one since it's been around. The last big one, was like 08, 09. Right. That was before crypto.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good point because we've been through these crypto winters, and you said people are we're getting killed at gas pumps, we're getting killed at the grocery store. So, and then all of a sudden you're gonna be like, wait, yeah, you know what? Maybe I should jump in Bitcoin today. No one's really got the capital. They're barely buying stocks right now because we're all just in a sitting and waiting pattern. But again, I don't know what it was, because it's all about patterns, and who knows? Because like, if I were to ask you, Sebastian, what do you think Bitcoin's worth? And you would probably say 0, right? But it's like, it was under 8,000 4 years ago. 3 years ago, it was 10,500. 2 years ago, I don't know if it's the even years, but it came back down. It's back down to 9,500. And then last year, 34K. Is this just a lull? Is it another crypto winter? Are we going to be, again, this is all down the line, are we going to be calling you and saying, hey, what's going on? Why is Bitcoin at 80,000? Like, JJ, where do you see Bitcoin in the next 3 years, 5 years, maybe even just in 1 year?
I mean, honestly, there's also a war going on right now in the world, and you're never going to have a stable economy, when that's happening. Sure. So I honestly, what I've personally been in is, it's hard to speculate in the short term with that still going on. And there's just a lot of bills coming into pass again, this recession that we're about to hit. But Steve asked in the beginning, I mean, I personally think crypto, it shouldn't really be viewed as like an investment. It should be viewed as a currency alternative. Like, what's the point of having a checking account when this isn't the 80s, or this, there's not 10% on your savings account anymore. I think I love that clip from oh my God, the HBO with the football, where they go in depth on the team, right? Oh my, Hard Knocks, with the Browns, with who was that?
Wasn't it Carl Nassib was like teaching finance? Yeah,
he was explaining like compound interest, and someone comes up to him, he's like, hey dude, no one offers 10% compound interest anymore. Like, it's not a thing.
Yeah.
So it's like, why, do you have 10 grand sitting in, what's essentially a checking account making you, inflation going on, you would rather spend 10 grand today than 10 grand tomorrow because your money is just losing value when you can have it, in an alternative. And that's, there was I don't think it was like a full blown recession, but back in 2015, there was a little economic downturn and people were kind of looking for alternatives. And that's kind of where you can track Bitcoin's price going above hundreds. So, I mean, with the recession now, well, that's also the thing that in all the textbooks that have ever been written about economic, there's nothing that can explain what's going on right now.
Sure.
So no one really knows what's going on and no one really knows what's going to be the future.
Yeah. Again, it's like, how's Bitcoin going to move? It's kind of everything's been getting slaughtered. You said if it keeps getting worse, is Bitcoin going to keep getting worse? Sebastian, I want to ask you just a kind of general question. Like, is there a noticeable difference when you're in the office on a day that's in the red as opposed to, and maybe a couple of days in the red as opposed to, when you're all partying with the green?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's definitely a little bit of a different vibe. What Ironwood, and we're a sort of a niche investment in terms of we don't correlate ourselves primarily to the stock market. We're sort of like a safe haven for your money. So although the vibes aren't great, it's obviously you like seeing green, you like seeing the fund, performing better. It is sort of a, you can just sense it around the office,
Uneasy.
Yeah, of course.
Shopify is cutting 10%. A lot of people are saying that they just kind of overestimated, when they're like, hey, we're getting all this money from the pandemic boom, we got to hire more people, and they overcalculated. So, it's crazy. I'm seeing what the housing market's doing in Toronto. Home prices are, starting to come down here. You're not getting buyers anymore. It's all very uneasy just anywhere you go. We all know you love your dividends, Sebastian Urban of Ironwood Capital. JJ, what kind of stocks, sectors, markets do you like? Are you invested in?
I'm really into like AI, robotics, man. I think that's the future. Aside from the crypto, I definitely think that, that's where we need to go as like a humanitarian, in me. Also just like renewable energy. That's kind of what I focus on. Plug Power was a really big winner of mine pretty recently. That thing shot up, man.
That's in the DC 85.
Yeah, hey man, it's up there, man. So that's just kind of what I'm focused on. But I mean, always got to keep your eye on what old Warren's doing, Berkshire Hathaway, just like always got to keep your eye on theirs. And I mean, actually with Seabass, he's into those. Do reinvestment with mutual funds specifically, or do you reinvest with specific stocks?
Everything, no matter what it is, if it's a stock, if it's a mutual fund, if it's an ETF, if it's a bond, if it's a REIT, E-REIT, no matter what it is, if you paying me a dividend, I'll give you my money.
I'll give you my money.
What's your best yield in the book right now? Is there one you're just like, oh yes, payday?
So I mean, Fundrise this year, I got to say that's been like the ballast of my portfolio. I'm currently up 7% on the year on that part of my portfolio, which is crazy considering what the overall market and even other publicly traded E-REITs are doing.
Yeah. Hey, congrats. There's always a bull and a bear somewhere. Good to you. That's no fun for me. I got to be either down 70 or up 70. What happened there? But let's JJ Wardell, Sebastian Urban. Sebastian, I didn't ask you this last week, so we'll start with you and then we'll get both you guys' takes. What was one thing you learned at Bradley, if anything, that's kind of stuck with you today?
What I've learned at Bradley
regarding finance, because you both studied it there.
Right. I would say the Excel applications, just that was what really introduced me to Excel. And I really started to like dive into Excel because that's like, the world of finance. I mean, that's where it primarily works. That's what the primary data source. That's where you're writing all your financial reports. And that introduction has just propelled my career. I've done so many great things in there, and I'll continue to keep learning.
Good stuff, JJ.
Yes, I thought you were going to say something about that investor club that you were in.
Yeah, he was Jim
Pull up
Cramer.
and sit in the back with the hat on. Yeah, I'm just here for it.
That was just a resume builder, man.
Fair enough.
Dude, I mean, Bradley was where I took like my first economic classes, and kind of didn't really have any exposure in high school just because, I was just fucking around in high school. But dude, just like the different schools of thought, like Keynesian economics, like I think that's kind of what drives us. There's kind of those different thoughts, but there's the fact that demand drives supply, and that's kind of where Bitcoin is at. Also, kind of making it full circle here, but since there is, and actually, Bass, there's a lot of like big whales in Bitcoin are actually companies. It's not individuals. It's not, people who you might think it is, man. Like it's actually like big corporations, and that's the thing, with Bitcoin.
Like Tesla?
Yeah, probably. Well, not anymore. But it's actually funny, kind of side note. There's a wallet that was activated like recently with like, I think it's the largest Bitcoin wallet now, but because no one actually knows who the creator of Bitcoin is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and it was just activated. So I think that is, but basically with Bitcoin being where it is and why it's so volatile, which I think is why it kind of freaks people out, is that it's so new, and there's so much of Bitcoin is held by so few people that anytime they do any trading, that's really, making the markets fluctuate as they are doing so. And I think that's what Bitcoin, like the bad thing about everyone's like, oh, it's risky, it's volatile, which, volatility in itself is something that can kind of be a double-edged sword. If you can, if you can kind of make sense of it, you can kind of see where it's going. Like if it dips below this level, it's a good time to buy. But I mean, I know big boy over here, but the bear man himself, he doesn't even look at all of that.
Hey, I gotta say though, the number one thing I learned while getting my Series 7, and this is what they've continually pushed at Ironwood, and as a fiduciary responsibility, past performance is not indicative of future performance. So just because it dropped below this level doesn't mean it's going to go to this level or that level. Past performance has nothing to do with how it'll perform in the future.
I love a good trend, though. I love a good trend.
Dude, that's like the bull. That's like anytime you go to a investor, they're like, "Well, you shouldn't time the market." They're like, "Well, dickhead." Think about everyone who did a rollover on their IRA in the past year and a half. They're sitting looking at their account negative 10 grand. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, and that's kind of where you don't time the market. Well, you do. Like that's why I don't understand. It's like if you need cash now, then you just sell and you'll have cash, and it's like, yeah, but it's not really about that, is it?
No, it's swing trading Bitcoin. I think is a lot like swing trading tech. Kathy Wood, as look it up. She called Bitcoin to 1 million, which is it would be awesome. That'd be freaking awesome. I'll tell you that much, Kath.
Bass would be in his closet.
Yeah, he wouldn't come back.
I'll still be collecting my dividends, dude. I'll be all right.
He is up on the year, Sebastian Urban, Ironwood Capital. So that's why we appreciate both you guys coming on to hear from different voices. I mean, like, last parting note here is like, what if I told you 20 years ago esports was going to be a multi-billion-dollar industry? Like, what do you make of like FaZe Clan going public, up 24% last week?
I mean, good for them, honestly. Like, I love it. I love to see it.
I was just kind of leaving that open-ended because it's like, podcasts, crypto, you don't really know until it happens where things are going, where things are advancing. And, who knows? That's why we'll keep kind of circling back.
Fair point.
Yeah.
Dude, it's live. Esports, they're on the rise, bro. They got TV shows for them now.
Dude, they're literally getting paid as much as athletes. Like, Ninjas was as popular as Ronda Rousey. Like, it's crazy. And back when I was doing like local high school sports in South Dakota, that was like, a hot topic. It was like all of a sudden esports was a varsity sport. Colleges are recruiting for esports. It's bizarre. Fast moving, bizarre world we live in, indeed. JJ Wardell, appreciate it, my man. Sebastian Urban, Ironwood Capital, the endless debate, crypto. We love it here. There's always a bull and a bear somewhere, and we bring you here on CorTrades.